Now, can I ask you a question? Have you ever experienced a miracle? Has something happened in your life that science can't explain, humans can't explain, and you've just been put in this strange situation of actually, this isn't meant to happen this way? You know, maybe there's been a cure of an illness where the medical experts have said you've got this amount of time to live, and you've lived for many, many years. You're in the all clear. Or maybe you witnessed something. You saw something like what you would put down to maybe a guardian angel, because I've heard many tales of when people have been in their darkest times and there's been what they thought was a human being pass them by and say a word. They've done something which has just put their heart at ease. And I wonder what you make of that, because if you're a Christian, you may, attribute it to the fact that, well, that was God sending down something. That was God's healing. That was Jesus doing something. But if you're not a Christian, where do you stand on that? How do you answer it? Is it just one of those things that you put down to fate? You put down to just, well, we don't have an answer. That's fine. Well, here to answer that question is Tom Price from OCCA. So, Tom, tell us all about this then. Do we believe, or should we believe, in miracles, and what actually are they?
So my answer is basically yes, we should believe in miracles, and miracles are possible. But I'm just going to think through with us some of the reasons why we might think they weren't possible, or we might be skeptical about them, and try to define as best as I can what a miracle is, maybe with some help from C.S. Lewis. So there was a philosopher called David Hume, and he argued that miracles were violations of the laws of nature, that we have these laws and sort of the way that reality normally works. These are the laws of nature. And he argued that a miracle was a violation of the laws of nature. But then he said, well, the laws of nature can't be violated. So he actually used a kind of circular argument where he used his definition of a miracle as part of the way he defined reality, or his definition of non-miracles as the way he defined reality, to argue in a circle that the laws of nature can't be violated, therefore miracles can't happen. That's a circular argument. And C.S. Lewis responds to David Hume's argument by saying, if Hume is right, we must agree with Hume that if there is absolutely uniform experience, if the laws of nature just always apply, then miracles haven't happened. But we can only know that miracles haven't happened, and that the laws of nature have always been uniform, if we know that every report of a miracle is false. They all have to be false. And we can only know that the reports about miracles are false if we already know that miracles have never occurred. So that's arguing in a circle. That's sort of arguing using internal sort of circularity, and that's problematic. That means that the argument doesn't work and is illogical. But maybe we can think about miracles in another way, other than violations of the laws of nature. For the purposes of illustration, I've borrowed my son's small wolf teddy. He's very kindly let me use it. This is Barney. This isn't Barney. Barney's my son. This isn't my son. This is just a wolf teddy. So if I were to let go of Wolfie, he would drop immediately to the ground, because the force of gravity is acting upon him, pulling him down towards the greater mass of the earth underneath us. Well, if I was to stop him falling, if I was to put my hand and arrest his fall, the question is, have I violated the laws of nature? And the answer is no, I haven't. I've intervened with another force that acts against the laws of nature. As an agent, a free sort of individual, I've gone into the situation, the system of him falling and gravity acting upon him, and I've intervened with another force. And it may be that instead of understanding miracles as violations of the laws of nature, we should understand them as an intervention by maybe an outside supernatural agent into a system where that agent doesn't normally operate. a better definition of a miracle, therefore, is the definition offered by C.S. Lewis, where he says a miracle is something that comes completely out of the blue. And that's the case for me for little signs of miracles that I've seen. Sometimes I do make the distinction here between things I'm thankful for, answers to prayer that I don't know whether it's a miracle or not. There might have been other therapies involved in somebody's treatment. They suddenly get better. I'm cautious about saying that that's a miracle because it could have been those other therapies. It could have been the chemotherapy. The cancer could have gone into remission for other reasons. So I'm saying that might be something I'm very thankful for, but it wouldn't necessarily be something I could definitely say was an act of God in intervening out of the blue as a miracle. Final thought is this. My friend Vince Vitale, a very clever philosopher, he says that regardless of where we stand, whether we're an atheist, whether we're agnostic, whether we're religious or not, however, wherever we stand, we all believe in miracles. We all believe in extraordinary things, either because we think that 20 centuries ago, the God who created the universe became a tiny little seed in the womb of a humble woman, or because we believe that this massive universe that we're in popped into existence from the size of a grain of sand, popped suddenly into expansive existence with life teeming on our planet, with cosmological laws and constants finely tuned for life. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing. That's a miracle in a way. So admittedly, a virgin birth is a bit out of the realm of the ordinary. But what exactly is the alternative? So Vince says this: we live in a miraculous world, regardless of whether we're a theist, an atheist, an agnostic. There's just no getting around that fact. And so that little familiar reading from John's Gospel declares that the Word became flesh and the God who'd made man in his own image became human. Now, Jesus did loads of different miracles. Jesus's miracles tended to be of incurable diseases. They tended to be things that were non-remitting. They tended to be instantaneous. There didn't tend to be other therapies involved. And the healing was complete in Jesus's examples of miracles. I think it's really important that we look at Jesus's miracles as the status quo, as the miracles. And I'm excited to hear other reports of miracles. There's a scholar called Craig Keener, who has gone through reports of other miracles. But for me, many of those fall in the category of things I'm thankful for. And I look to Christ for the actually really big deal miracles.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? Because if you read the Bible, it seemed like that there was miracles going on left, right, and center. There was people having extraordinary dreams, which led them to amazing situations. And then there was this man, Jesus Christ, who came along, and he was doing them all the time. Why is it that we don't seem to have them like they did in biblical times?
Well, I mean, people have different views about that question. Some think that there was a particular sort of intensity and an amount of miracles that were particularly validating and pointing to Christ's credibility to be God and to his claim to be God in human flesh. That's why there were more miracles at that time. Perhaps we might even acknowledge that there were less miracles in the book of Acts than there were in the Gospels, and that when Christ said, "You will do even greater things than me," he was meaning more works of salvation rather than miraculous healing miracles. People have different views about these things. Personally, I'm in the camp of saying most of what I see now, generally, I feel I can be thankful for it, and I'm definitely open to the possibility of God doing things, but I think it's pretty rare now. And I think actually the pattern of our lives now is not so much God doing miracles and us needing to have enough faith to believe in miracles and him plucking us out of suffering, but instead of that approach is to say God walks with us through suffering, and sometimes he will do things, but actually the miracles to look to are the miracles of Christ himself. I believe in them now. I just think they're very rare.
Tom, thank you very much. And if you would like to suggest a question for future weeks. Now, we have got a massive list. In fact, Tom sent it over to me just the other day, and there's a massive list, but we would love to have your input on this feature. What are the questions that you'd like answering? Those difficult ones, maybe those questions that mean that until you get that answer, you can't believe any of this Christian stuff. Then do let us know. You can email studio@connectradio.com.